Will you and your students join me at the podium, please? I'm going to try to say your names right. This first young man's name is Jesus Balion. Did I do good? All right. In September of 1996, Jesus became the teen father of a little girl, Deanna. He immediately quit the 10th grade to go to work full-time. Officer Shelton of the Haltom City Police Department knew him and insisted that Jesus could not be satisfied with being a high school dropout. Officer Shelton called Shannon's assistant principal, Ralph Cheney, to find out about enrollment. Jesus agreed to return to school and try to earn his diploma at the Shannon Learning Center. He will be graduating from high school in May. As the oldest child in his family, he wants to set a good example to his 3 brothers and 2 sisters. He especially wants his daughter to learn from his perseverance that education is important. Jesus. Our next young man is Tyson Fields. Tyson came to Shannon Learning Center in the fall of 1998-99. He has attended continuously and has completed enough credits to place him in the position to graduate in May of this year. When he was in the 4th grade, his mother died and his family had to split up to live with various relatives in the Fort Worth area. Tyson was the oldest of 7 children, and he and his sister Jennifer moved to Haltom City to live with his grandmother, Mrs. Jimmy White, along with his father, who is disabled. Tyson says he has been motivated to stay in school despite his difficulties because of the memory of his mother. His mother quit school when he was born, and she always wanted him to be able to finish. In May, Tyson will make her wish a reality. Tyson? And our young lady's name is Kathy Tyrone. She had not attended school for several years before coming to Shannon. Kathy knew she would not be satisfied with herself if she did not earn a high school diploma. She entered Shannon in the spring of 1998 with no high school credits earned, enrolling the first quarter for only 1 class as a personal test to see if she could manage it. She soon realized that with the help of her teachers at Shannon, she could not only manage school, she could achieve her goal of graduation. The next quarter, Kathy enrolled for a full load and has continued without interruption since then. It took courage on Kathy's part to come back to school, and her efforts will be rewarded this May as she earns her diploma as a member of the class of 2000.
Mayor, thank you so much for this opportunity to recognize 3 students who are merely representative of the majority of students that we have at the Shannon Learning Center. The Shannon Learning Center may be one of the most misunderstood schools in the district, and we're doing our best to overcome that. Many people erroneously think when they hear the term alternative school that it's for students who have had some kind of behavior problem or in trouble. That is not true. We have over 200 students very much like these who are absolutely delightful young people who are working very hard to get their diplomas and make something of themselves in life. And we appreciate very much the opportunity to get tonight to share just 3 of the students with us from the Shannon Learning Center, the Alternative Education Center in the Birdville School District, where we have outstanding students making progress toward becoming fulfilled citizens in our society and in Haltom City. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, audience. Thank you, City Council.
Do we have parents?
Yes, we do. I'm sorry. We've got Kathy's parents.
Would you all please stand up?
And I know Tyson's got some relatives.
thank you so much for being with us this evening. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is the consent agenda, and it consists of items 17 through 19 plus 23, deleting items number 10 and items number 13, which will be voted on separately.
15.
10 and 13.
15.
10 and 15?
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Okay, that's 7 through 19 plus 23 minus 10 and 15.
Got it.
Okay, Councilmember Odenby.
Move to approve.
Councilmember Markham.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please register your vote. Motion passes unanimously. And next we will move to consent agenda item number 10 that was removed, and we'll be ready for a vote on that. Mr. Eisen?
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for consideration of the issuance of $2.5 million worth of bonds for street improvements. This $2.5 million is the last remaining funding available from bonds approved by the voters in 1995. Mr. Mark McCliney with our financial advisor firm is here this evening, and as is required by law, he will have to actually open the bids in the public session at this point, and we'll read those bids aloud, and then the council will consider action at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Eisen. I have placed at each seat a official statement, and in that there was the tabulation of bid form for you all to follow along. I would like to point out, and I believe Mr. Eisen put this at each seat also, the Standard & Poor's rating, or had it in your agenda. Standard & Poor's is an independent party that rates municipal bonds, rates the underlying issuer's ability to repay without insurance. The city has historically been able to get insurance at very competitive rates, but they look at, if the insurance was not there, what is the city's ability to repay? And if you remember last bond issue, last year, we were raised from a BBB plus to an A minus. This report confirms the A minus, but puts you on positive credit watch, which means they're looking at the current trends for an upgrade of the city. Very rarely does this happen in such a quick process. Much of this is the economy. Much of this, though, is what's been going on in Haltom City, the finances in Haltom City, the long-term consistent management and tenures of council. So it is a feather in your all's cap, and you should be proud of the fact that they're looking at the upgrade. I know you spoke with Wendy Wepperman, who was the financial analyst for Standard & Poor's. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I will just say that these people keep an eye on these cities on a continuing basis, really. It's not just a 15-minute phone call once every 2 years. They read the papers. They watch the reports to see what's going on. They're very impressed with some of the commercial developments that have occurred in this community and in the surrounding communities. We can't help but follow along with the very good fortune that's occurring generally in the area. But overall, she had very good remarks to make about the financial stability and future for Haltom City.
And if there's any questions about the report, or if you all have questions about how the rating process works, to give you an idea, the highest rated bonds are AAA rated. Your bonds in the past, because of insurance, have been AAA rated. The state of Texas is AA. So you can get a general idea of the repayment, the way they review that. As far as these bonds go, we sent the official notice of sale and preliminary official statement out to about 50 bidders. And we received 8 bids in reply. Several of the firms pooled together. And I'll just go through alphabetically. First Southwest, based in Dallas, Texas. They bid 5.610502%. 5.610502%. And the bonds would be insured by FIDGIC, which is one of the insurance companies, and the bidder buys the insurance. That is not an expense of the city. The next bid is First Tennessee Capital Markets, and although it's First Tennessee Capital Markets, they are out of Kansas City. Their bid is 5.650599. 5.650599. Griffin Cubic Stevens and Thompson Incorporated is out of Chicago, Illinois. Their bid was 5.6455. 5.6455. William Huff and Company, which is out of Denver. They bid 5.6415. 5.6415. Morgan Keegan in Dallas. They bid 5.5818. 5.5818. Payne Weber in New York bid with Dane Rauscher, that's now based in Minneapolis, Duncan Williams, not sure where they are, and Solomon Smith Barney out of New York, and they formed a syndicate to bid together. Their bid came in at 5.62033. 5.62033. Prudential Securities, which is out of Dallas. Their bid is 5.6360. 5.6360. And the last bid was Southwest Securities. Their bid came in at 5.610683. 5.610683. The low bid is Morgan Keegan. They have provided a good faith check in the amount of $50,000 to guarantee their payment. They are a nationally known bidder, a good bidder, and it would be our recommendation to accept that bid. The cover bid is 5.61 by First Southwest, 5.610502 by First Southwest. The high to low being a 558 to 564 shows a very tight spread and be an indication that the market accepted these bonds very well, and probably many of them had the same buyers on either end. A lot of the firms will be calling on the same banks and mutual funds, and they'll just be determining what the firm wants to make on the transaction. So if there's any questions about the rating or process, I'm happy to field anything. Otherwise, be up to the council to authorize the actual issuance.
Councilmember Quinones?
Yes, I don't have any questions. I'm ready for a motion that we go ahead and accept the bid from Morgan Keegan at 5.5818 on the bonds.
Councilmember Art?
And do we need to also say that the backup bid is First Southwest?
That wouldn't be necessary.
Okay, no second?
Okay, a motion and a second. Please register your vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor. I need to get
Thank you.
2 signatures, if I can, please. This will just hold their bid.
Mark, do we need to vote on this ordinance?
Yes, that will do.
This next one will be,
It's trade. Thank you, sir. Okay. I can find it. Okay. Got it. And now, council will need to vote on accepting the ordinance under number 10 that was on the consent agenda. Councilmember Quinones?
Yes, I thought that's what I was making a motion about earlier, but I'll just add the number, ordinance 2000-011-03.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Williams?
That's for a second?
I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Ownby, do you have discussion?
No, I was going to second it and didn't hit my button off.
Okay. Motion and a second. Please register your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mark. The next agenda item that was removed from the consent agenda is item number 15, consideration and or action regarding approval of a resolution in support of youth employment for summer 2000. Councilmember Quinones asked to have this removed, so Councilmember, you can state your reasons for that.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I did ask to move it. It's a resolution that was offered to request that the city endorse or seek additional funding from the federal government for workforce development and youth employment program, which is to start taking place in April of this year. And the reasons that I pulled it is I'm not in favor of the resolution because what is contemplated by that Workforce Development Act and what is encouraged by this resolution is to have basically a federal jobs program for children year-round that I think in many ways creates an expansion of government. It's unnecessary, in my opinion. And interestingly, it made one comment in there about how there are not jobs. Well, I'll just mention one provision of it, where it says that 14 or 15-year-olds who are primarily only eligible for employment through a government-sponsored workplace cannot usually be hired for summer work by private sector partners. I believe the reason for that is probably because they don't let them work in private sector because of child labor laws. Now, I think that if they wanted to encourage programs for summer youth programs, or year-round for that matter, they may want to accommodate that, allow youth the age to lower down. You look at any fast food, you see that many of them are offering $7, $8, some cases $9 an hour. I think the market's out there for it. And I think this is just one piece to put into a puzzle of a big scheme of a school-to-work regimen where you take kids from the cradle and you basically start regimenting the life of people as they go through life. And I think I'm just opposed to it for those reasons. I'm not opposed to youth work because I think a lot of people would like to hire youth, but they would violate child labor laws if they could, if they did. So those are generally my reasons. I think it's an expansion of government that's unnecessary, and quite honestly, I don't think that the federal government should be raising our children. So when a motion's ready, I'd like to make it.
Very well. Councilmember Arp?
Well, I'm also going to vote against this. I'm not going to say as much as Tom did. I just think that the federal government, I think, needs to be cutting back on its expenses and hiring kids to work during the summer. Whenever right now we got jobs out there that can't be filled, I think is an unnecessary expenditure of taxpayers' money. So I'm going to be voting against this.
let me just say, first of all, that this was not for Haltom City to seek funds. It was just to support the resolution. We weren't going to go seek funds. And I know that there's a lot of youngsters that maybe due to circumstances at home, council member mentioned something about from the cradle. I think there's a lot of them that wish they didn't have to work, but it's a very necessary economic type thing, and that's where this originally came from the United States Conference of Mayors asking for our support for this. So just to make that clarification for the rest of you, and I would be ready for a motion. Councilmember Quinones, I had told you you could make the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I move that we not adopt the resolution as presented.
Councilmember Arp?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Please register your vote. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion fails. With council members Jennings, Henserling. Well, okay, by voting no, you're voting to not accept it.
No, to voting no, you're,
Voting no, you're
my
voting it.
my motion
You
was to not-
voted to turn
not
it
adopt
down, and they're voting to accept it.
To adopt it.
So, in that case, motion passes.
No.
No, we'll have to make another motion.
We'll need to
Motion failed.
Motion fails, you'll entertain.
Well, I get to go to another motion now,
That's
though.
right.
Thank you. Okay. Let's try again, gentlemen. Councilmember Markham?
Thank you, Mayor. It gets a little confusing after some points. Although this program certainly not perfect, I don't know what is, but it does provide an opportunity at some point for some young people to work. And I think that encourages them to a better life for them at that point in their life and on in their future. So I would make a motion that we pass this ordinance, or the resolution, excuse me.
Thank you. Councilmember Henserling?
Ask for a second, Madam Mayor.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Ownby, did you have
Yeah, all I wanted to
discussion?
say was I'm going to agree with that motion just because they're the ones that caused the problem by putting the 16-year limit age on there. So if they want to give a solution by providing some funding for the 14 and 15-year-olds, I'm in favor of it.
Why don't they just change the law?
Fix their own problem until they do.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Please register your vote. Now the motion passes. Thank you. Just to let you know, when we added agenda item number 23 to the consent agenda, which of course has already been voted on, that was to set the charter amendment election date, and that will be August the 12th. The next agenda item is a public hearing. Mr. Eisen?
The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a replat of a piece of property at the northeast corner of North Beach and McComas Road. The site is currently occupied by the UniFirst Corporation, which has been in that location for a number of years now. The purpose of the replat is to consolidate several individual lots into one lot so that the business located at that location can expand.
Thank you. This being a public hearing, I now open the public hearing. Is the applicant here? Do you want to just see if there's any questions, or would you like to address council?
Just for questions.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak for this agenda item? Anyone to speak against? Then I will close the public hearing, and we would be ready for motion. Councilmember Jennings?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we approve P00600.
Thank you. Councilmember Markham?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please register your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Public hearing on the sales tax holiday. Mr. Eisen?
Thank you again, Mayor. In 1999, For the first year, so-called sales tax holiday was held during the first weekend in August. That sales tax holiday excluded from sales tax for that 3-day time period all sales tax on clothing and footwear items, the idea being that would help families who had children who were being clothed, I guess, to go back to school. The state law, which allows for that exemption that took place last year, provides for the same thing to happen again this year unless an individual local government which levies a sales tax chooses to opt out of that sales tax holiday. In order to opt out of the holiday and sales tax to be charged then on that first weekend in August in the city, it would be necessary for the council to hold a public hearing and then to formally vote to do so. As we had indicated earlier, we really don't have any information for you on what the cost to the city was, if cost is the right term, last year during the sales tax holiday that was held then. The records just aren't kept at that level of detail. We've also done a survey of area cities and determined that at this point at least no other city in the area or no city in the area to date has voted to opt out of the sales tax holiday. So at this point, based upon what we know today, all area cities will be having the sales tax holiday this year as it was held last year.
And due to the fact that we're not going to opt out of having this holiday, then we can just go straight into a motion?
Yeah, or for that matter, if you take no action or vote to hold the holiday, then the holiday will be held again this year.
Then we really require no action on this, council. Okay. We'll move on to the Visitors and Citizens Forum.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
There was one thing back when we did the consent agenda on item 16. We did need to comment and failed to, and I should have since I made the motion, that we were going to go with the fixed price for the city.
That's correct.
Okay, and that should have been stated in the minutes.
Agenda item number 16 under the consent agenda, to go stay with the fixed amount for a period of 3 years. Okay. I do have one speaker's request for the Visitors and Citizens Forum, and that's Mr. Tom Brown. Please state your name and address.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Tom Brown. I'm with IESI Corporation. We have offices on 6125 Airport Freeway. I came here tonight to talk about an upcoming event. April 6th, there's going to be a registration meeting here. I understand there's been some circulars being distributed against this facility, and I wanted to come here tonight and reiterate the positives of the facility and why we're at this juncture. We started this process over 3 years ago, I believe, before I came to ISI even, actually. I was here before you last April, I believe, and that's when we decided to go forward with the facility. We hope to actually get this thing open in the next couple 3 months. There was an article that came out in the Fort Worth paper that I'd like to dispel one myth in there. We're not set up to take junk cars. It was in the paper that we were going to accept junk cars. So sorry, no junk cars. What we are going to accept is recycling materials from the citizens of Haltom City and things that they clean out of their garage and that just don't have any place to throw away. They'll be able to bring those down to the center. And what this is it's a recycling registration, is what it's officially called with the TNRCC that we're applying for. This registration will allow us to take in materials which we're required by law to recycle at least 10% of the weight. We hope to do more than that. The facility will be completely enclosed inside of a building. It will be fenced. The objections that we heard before was traffic. This road handles 700 vehicles a day now, 50 more vehicles a day spread throughout the day. We don't believe there'll be a burden. The city of Haltom City will also participate in the profits of this facility. And so this should become a revenue source for the city as well. The 480-ton maximum that we put in our application is simply a maximum. We don't anticipate that kind of volume to come into the site at all in the beginning. We did choose an area that serves about 130,000 people on our application. Those include the cities of Hearst, Euless, and Bedford, and Haltom City. We don't collect the garbage from any of those cities except Haltom City, and we anticipate it to be mainly a Haltom City facility. The other argument or just thing that came about was that they said that Haltom City would become the trash hub for the Northeast. All of our competitors have facilities in the area and have their own landfills. They would not choose to come to our facility, we don't believe. So because they do have their own facilities, it also doesn't give us any kind of competitive advantage to them. So they already have their own. We commit to police the road for trash. Anything that might be dropped off by a truck coming to the facility, we will pick up. The gates will be locked after hours. And the doors of the facility will also be locked. One thing we discussed last time I was here was traffic out in that area. I know one of y'all's concerns last time was the queuing of the traffic, and from the old days when Laidlaw had their landfill open there. We talked about it, and we came to the conclusion that the best thing to do would be to give everybody a free day at our landfill, which is down in Kennedale, which we have agreed to do, and I think are in the process of setting a date right now. So the queuing of the traffic in the area, if we've limited, or we have in our application, we've said we'll handle 50 vehicles a day. Again, those will be spread throughout the day. If they should happen to all show up at once, we have plenty of room inside the facility to queue up trucks, and so therefore there shouldn't be any way that vehicles would spill out onto the highway and queue up in a long line. So, as we've seen before, so it's some of the people around there have seen before. So, in conclusion, I just wanted to kind of come and reiterate the positive of this process. I mean, we're going to be able to dump, or people will be able to bring the recyclables to the facility and bring their unwanted items from their garage or whatever, and that's mainly the purpose for the facility. It is a recycling registration, and that's what we've applied for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The next agenda item is announcements and events, and there will be a public workshop on April the 18th at 7 p.m. Working for Haltom City, the Fort Worth District Corps of Engineers has evaluated a number of alternatives for flood damage reduction along Little Fossil Creek between Walthall Drive and the corporate border with the city of Fort Worth. The purpose of the meeting is to inform and receive feedback from interested parties on the recommended plan. It will be held at the library right here in beautiful downtown Haltom City. That's 7 p.m., April the 18th. Any other announcements or events? Councilmember Williams?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This has to do with the Great American Cleanup. Will be this Saturday, April the 1st. Beautification Board is full swing on this, and I think the Volunteer Service Board is probably going to help do some of this. Each year we have the Great American Cleanup kickoff. We'll provide bags. We'll have rollback garbage facilities to, we hope we fill them up, and have a lot of volunteers. Anyone interested in volunteering for this can contact Fran Burns at the city. She doesn't know, I'm going to give her phone number out. It's 222-7767. That'll be Saturday, April the 1st, and we'll begin at 8 a.m., and they can call Fran if anybody wants to come out and join us. We'd be glad to have you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Then we'll move on to other business. Agenda item number 22. Closing the drive-through pavement window. Council, do you have any discussion on that? Motion? Councilmember Ark?
I was going to make a comment. We had talked about this before, that this might be a possibility, but I would like for us to rethink closing this window, because of the 11,781 people that went through there the last month through our water department, over 2,000, which was 2,026, went through the drive-through. This, to me, is a significant number, and so I'm going to wait and see what the motion is, but my motion is going to be to leave it. I'm going to vote to leave it open and leave it as it is. If you want to limit the times or something like that, I would be willing to do that, but I think just closing it down, I think we're doing a disservice to our citizens.
I have two lights on. Are either one of you ready to make a motion?
I am.
Or is it you are? If I could get a motion in a second, we could go for other discussion, and if necessary, get Mr. Elfrink to come out. Councilmember Quinones?
Thank you, Mayor. I've reviewed the information. I'll make a motion that we send the citizens the letter as presented in the format that we've been given. 5-week period notice notifying them that the window will be closed and how they can drop off their payments. That's my motion.
Councilmember Williams?
No, I'm waiting for discussion.
All right. Do I have a second to Councilmember Quinones'? Councilmember Jennings?
Yes, ma'am, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Quinones? I'm sorry. Who was it that wanted?
It was I.
Okay.
To refresh your memory on this drive-in window, what began the discussion on this was Councilmember Arp had brought this to the council more than once or twice. Is concerned about the problem with the drive-in window on the east side of the building for water bills and such to be paid. And when this was designed, it wasn't a very wide road to start with, and there wasn't very many power steering on cars, and I don't know how people ever turned and went into it to start with. But after Mr. Elfrink has got this survey that we got, and we know how many people are using this, and I want to let the citizens also know that we have a new drop box out there that's bright yellow, and they're able to put their bills in that as well. I thought the citizens did not use this too much until I see that 2,000 people a month use that, and that's quite a bit of usage. I don't see paying $20,000 to refurbish this window. And I've talked to Mr. Elfrink about this earlier today and checked some of the deals, and you had said on the box we have, if they leave their bills in there, those will be posted on the next day. Is that, you want to, if they leave they come by and deposit a bill at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, that bill will be posted the next day.
That is correct. We have a cutoff, as I explained in the pre-council meeting. The cutoff to close the register is at 1 o'clock so that we can get the money to the bank in time. But prior to that, at 11 o'clock, half of the staff goes to lunch. And if someone's sick or on vacation, we're even more shorthanded. And what is happening at 9 o'clock in the morning is all of the large bulk of mail comes in from the post office. And that sets everybody in there in motion to get that processed in time. And so there really is just, it seems strange, but there's not room for an added batch to come in there that can run all the way till, say, you think, 11 or 12 o'clock. It just doesn't work that way.
Okay, and some people use the convenience of the drive-in window and coming up paying in person, possibly for financial reason. They don't have the money up till the last day. And so if they want to come in and pay the last day, as opposed to dropping it in the box, if they know that there's a notice on the box that will not be posted the next day. Am I correct in that?
Yes, that notice is on the box, I believe.
Okay. I would like to see us add a notice to the box in bright red letters or something stating that if you have a bill that is subject to be turned off,
yes,
that you should bring that bill inside as opposed to putting it in the box. Now, on this 2,000 and something people that come in and pay these bills through the drive-in window, do you have any kind of estimate on how many pay with cash and how many pay with checks?
We've talked about that in the past as a result of some of the previous council discussions on this issue. My cashiers and the supervisors there feel that it's about a 50-50 ratio of cash and checks at that window.
Okay. Some people are not able to get checking accounts. Some people don't trust banks and don't want checking accounts and just want the cash. And I want to be able to serve all the citizens in the way that we need to serve them. And I would like to throw out the council to suggest leaving the window open, and the citizens that would like to use the window could. The ones that want to use the drive-in box can. If they want to go ahead and use the window, Mr. Arp had brought up earlier this year that the problem is people fighting getting through the window and out of the window and getting that, they're having to get outside of their cars to pay their bill. Putting the drop box in there, we've eliminated that problem. They can pull up, roll their window down, drop their money, or drop their check or money order in that. But the ones that still want to pay in person, and I talked to one of the girls over there today in the office with Mr. Elfring. She said sometimes people will come through, and the reason they don't want to come in, they've got 3, 4, 5 children in the car, and they don't want a chain of children coming in the office with them, and so it would be easier just to drive through, do their business through the window, and drive on. So I would like to suggest that we leave the window open, and if they want to fight getting in and out of the window, let them do it. Otherwise, they can use the box or they can mail it.
Well, the problem is that we've already instructed staff to close the window.
Okay. Can we uninstruct them after the survey?
We have too big a history of going back and changing our mind 2 weeks later or 4 weeks later.
Engineers do it all the time.
We're not engineers.
Well, that's what I would like to be able to go ahead and let them.
Okay.
That may be the terriblest motion or the terriblest ideal, but if there's 2,000 people using that out of 11,000 customers, that's quite a bit of traffic through that. I had no idea that we had that much traffic coming through that window.
So noted. Councilmember Jennings?
Question for staff. Mr. Elfrink, people that come up and use the drive-in window, if they bring their payment by at, say, 9:30 in the morning, is it credited that day, or is it credited the next morning as a drop-off?
It's credited that day up to about 1 o'clock. That's a constant stream. It's the same as if they come up to the counter. Okay. The other payments, such as what comes in from the post office and what's in the night box, those are handled in batches by separate personnel other than the 2 cashiers. It's kind of like an assembly line.
Okay. Is there something that would preclude you from rescuing those payments from that drop box more than once a day?
I talked to the supervisor of that department today. We tried to think about doing that. It's a staffing problem. Again, about 11 o'clock, half of the staff is gone. Yeah. And they have a reduced amount of people in there who are able to work the payments. And it's about 9 o'clock. Really, the window we're working with for the drop box is from 8:15 to 9 o'clock, because at 9 o'clock is when the mailbox load hits us, and that's usually several hundred payments.
If memory serves, when we discussed this the last time we voted on it and instructed staff to close this window, I believe that it was the comment of the staff at that time that by closing that window, we felt that we would free up some more help inside there. Is that something that you've changed your mind on now? Do you believe that by closing this window, we would not have extra help that we didn't have before?
Well, we'll probably, if we close the window, there would probably be some additional staffing available for it, but I can't predict that. I don't know what the trend will be.
Okay, and
I didn't want to commit to something that I couldn't keep.
Were there some additional staffing available at some point in the future, saying that the window was closed? Mm-hmm. Could you not then use that staff that would be available to make another pickup from that box?
And I talked again today when I was talking with the utility billing supervisor, even after Councilman Williams left. We felt the most we could push back that deadline would be maybe 9:30 or so, again, because things are handled in batches. And when that batch is processed, you can't add in another individual payment to it.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Henserling?
Councilmember Jennings kind of hit at it. I was trying to remember exactly why we were trying to do this and how much savings we were actually the city was going to have, and I don't think we're not going to be able to put our finger on the exact amount of savings or get a...
Savings was never an issue to my knowledge. subject came up originally because of the difficulty for some customers to reach the drawer that
Right.
slides out at the window, and then a lot of customers who are traveling south on Friendly Lane, they try and make that U-turn into the drive, and it's almost impossible with today's vehicles, many of today's vehicles.
Well, I realize tonight the item that's on our agenda is actually we're voting on the wording that this notice is going to have on it. And I think it's kind of interesting that we voted to instruct the staff to close the window. We had no information as far as the total number of people that came through.
We had some information at that time. We'd done some partial surveys, but we didn't have the lead time that we've had now.
Okay.
I thought it prudent immediately after council made its last decision to try and continue counting the number of customers on a day-to-day basis that were using this.
But we didn't have this information available last time.
Didn't have it this thoroughly, no.
Sure.
We just had some estimates.
Well, I voted against it last time, but guys, I think as a city, we're in the business of customer service,